Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. I'm excited today to be joined by Coach Justin Maullin from Guilford College in Greensboro, North Carolina. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Well, let's just jump right into it. One of the things players always want to know is how a particular coach does their recruiting. So when do you start looking at players in terms like, what year in high school are they? When are you hearing from players generally?
Yeah, I think it's not an exact science, but for example, we have an ID camp this past Sunday on campus, and there was a goalkeeper that's a 2024. So she's definitely on our radar now. If I went out to a tournament, would I be looking for a 2024 goalkeeper? Probably not. So that, again, not an exact science. I mean, the girls are a little bit ahead of the boys. They typically start contacting us in their junior year. Very few in sophomore. I know as you go up in the levels, it would probably change. But for us, we get in juniors and seniors.
Okay. You mentioned ID camps. So how do camps factor into your whole recruitment process, whether that's your own ID camps or camps you go and work at other schools?
Sure. I mean, for us at Division III, again, our recruiting budget isn't as lucrative as some other schools. So hosting our own ID camp is certainly one avenue where we can get girls on campus and kind of put them through, our system, our drills. And then, going to other ID camps certainly helps. I went to one last week, Sunday, Charlotte Soccer Academy. They had 140 kids. With schools from Michigan, Florida State, Georgia, down to Guilford and everywhere in between. So the ID camp is certainly a very good avenue, whether it's another school's or ours, and it's certainly cost effective. And then you're getting players from we had a girl flying from Connecticut for the Guilford camp, and is a 4.9 AP and wants Guilford for the creative writing, and it just seems like a perfect fit. So yeah,
That's great. What about tournaments? You're lucky in that you're kind of in the heart of it all there in North Carolina, but what are the main tournaments you like to get to look at players throughout the year?
Yeah, they would obviously be kind of Southeast-based tournaments. The Visit Raleigh Showcase is certainly a very big one for us, just an hour up the road. That one's been going for years. The Southern Soccer Showcase just happened right now in Greensboro. And as you mentioned, we're right around the corner from a major complex called Bryant Park, which hosts regionals, state cup events. So that's a great one for us. We went up to WAGS in early October. That was an excellent one for us. That was just 4 hours up the road. And then we'll venture down south a little bit too, a Disney Showcase. And then some ECNL, ECRL tournaments that are regional. And then just some one-off games that are more local, within an hour and a half radius. There's actually a very good high school tournament in town today, where you've got 16 high schools. So I'll go and recruit today, and that's also another great opportunity.
No, that's fantastic. How many contacts from inbound contacts from recruits do you think you get in a typical week?
I would say probably looking at easily 10 to 15 in a typical week.
10
Certainly,
to 15,
2 a day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do you like to see in those first communications from a player?
I'd like to see a little bit more individualism. So just not a generic email. Something where they've dived into your school a little bit, or dived into your background as a coach a little bit. They knew your record. They know something specific about the school. That kind of jumps out and says, okay, they really are interested in Guilford, as opposed to just a generic email. A bio helps, just with some quick pointers. It doesn't have to be extremely detailed. Grad year, GPA, team, coach. Soccer world's very small. We almost know everyone. And then if they've got a video, great. Nothing too long, 2-3 minutes, and then that just sparks a little bit of interest. So those are kind of the main bullet points.
Now, you get a first contact, you've got that info, you go to a tournament or a camp or see somebody play, what is it that you're looking for, in terms of your hierarchy of values and attributes, whether they're on the field or off the field, that really kind of help solidify a recruit for you?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, each coach has a certain system that they want to play. So I think first and foremost, can some of those players fit into your tactical system? With the playing with wingers or inverted wingers, whether you like to get your left and right backs forward, that's going to dictate, how fit your left and right backs need to be, or do you want ball playing centre backs? So again, I think that's going to change. For us, we're a very pressing team, so I'm going to do the forwards press. That's with the pinch of salt because their club coach might not want to press. So yeah, you've got that. I think athleticism is certainly key. How athletic is the player? And if they're not as athletic, what other attributes can they bring to the table, right? Are they very technical? Are they very soccer savvy? Those sort of attributes. But, specifically first, how can we fit certain players into our system? And then after that, just try to get the best players we can get regardless of position. And then also kind of looking outside the box, perhaps looking at a striker that is maybe left-footed. Could we convert her into an attacking left back in our system? Thinking outside the box as well.
No, that makes sense. You mentioned it is a small world in the coaching ranks in the soccer community. So are you often talking to a player's club coach or high school coach as well to get input? Are you being contacted very often by club coaches saying, hey, come take a look at this player or that player?
Absolutely. I mean, to answer the first question, that's all I do. As soon as I get something, chances are I'd say 80% of the time you're going to know either that coach or someone in that club or someone that's played against that club. It's an extremely small soccer world. So 100% will I do that. Just get their viewpoints, their thoughts. And then, yeah, we are contacted way more by club coaches than high school coaches. Although there are some hardworking high school coaches out there that'll reach out and really be professional and send you rosters and breakdowns of seniors and really make your job easy. So yeah, I for sure spend a lot of time, even with transfers in the transfer portal. I'm calling coaches. I want to know what's happening. I think that's very important.
You mentioned transfer, so I guess my last question on the recruiting side of thing is kind of a catch-all. How much do transfers fit into your recruiting, walk-ons, and then obviously your accent isn't a typical North Carolinian accent, so I'm guessing you may have a little bit of international recruiting perhaps at your school as well. So how do all those things kind of round out your recruiting process?
Yeah, I think the transfer portal has certainly changed college soccer or college athletics in general. I don't think it's changed it for the good, but it is what it is. So, we certainly will look at the transfer portal. We would try and remain kind of landlocked. If it's someone that's transferring from West Coast school, we're unlikely to look at that. If it's anyone in the Southeast, I'll first, obviously click on the website, see where they're from. We've found a lot of girls from North Carolina that have gone out of state that want to come back home. So those are the ones that we really target, certainly within a 2-3 hour radius of Guilford. And we reach out to them. Some don't get back, some do. And then we start a dialogue as, why are you transferring? Is it a playing time issue? Is it a cost issue? Is it a dynamic coach issue? I want to know what that reason is. We don't want that baggage coming into our program. So it has definitely changed the game a lot. You certainly don't want to rely just on a transfer portal, and we don't. But if you can pick up one that's a good fit for your program, you will. In terms of international recruiting, that was a very, very big deal when I was on the Division I ranks and at coaching at the NAI level. We were heavily international, not really by want or design. When I was the head coach at UNC Greensboro, we had several internationals. the best American players are getting taken by, your ACC and some of the biggest schools. So that was a very, very big avenue for us. I would go internationally all the time on trips. Here at Guilford, because we're Division III and there's only merit-based scholarships, it's significantly less. Although you do find some internationals that want good academics and have high budgets, where they can pay 15 or 20,000 a year. So it's not something we don't look at. We keep dabbling, keep talking to international recruiting agencies. What do you have out there? We certainly cover those bases too, but it's much less here at the Division III level than it was at Division I.
Yeah, so you mentioned scholarships, obviously Division III, you don't have athletic money, but how is the academic and merit-based money at your school specifically? Is it
Yeah, I think when student athletes look at private schools, I think they get an initial shock at the sticker prices. But really, when it's all said and done, we're every bit as competitive as a state school. So for example, our sticker price is 54,000. And again, you got girls going, well, coach, there's no ways I can afford that. But I mean, immediately off the bat, good grades, 3.0, 3.5, 4.0, they're getting anywhere between $15,000 to $30,000. So on average, I would tell you every girl on my roster is paying around 18, some less, $15,000 to $20,000. So when you look at it as at a state school, a UNCG, I mean, we're competitive at that. So what, again, the merit awards are very, very competitive.
No, that's good information. So let's talk more about the school specifically. Folks, I think may know Greensboro, UNC Greensboro, that you mentioned earlier, but may not be familiar with Guilford. So, besides me clicking around the website and seeing what's there, give me the inside scoop. What's something that's really cool and awesome about Guilford that I might not know about just by looking at the website?
Yeah, so it's Guilford sits on a fantastic part of Greensboro, which Greensboro is part of the triad, which is Winston-Salem, High Point, and Greensboro. So some good mid-sized cities. Greensboro is the third largest city in the state of North Carolina, behind Raleigh and Charlotte. So it is a good-sized city. The school, a small private school, as most of Division III schools are. We have 1,200 students on campus, so class sizes are small. So it's got to be something that the student athlete wants in terms of a small school. Just like any school, we have degrees that we are very good at. Exercise sports science is an extremely strong major here. Creative writing, music. We've got education, business. So you've got your business schools, your schools rather that are very strong. So it's a very beautiful, quaint campus. The buildings are absolutely exquisite. Brand new residence halls, brand new dining halls. We have a multi-million-dollar soccer stadium. So it's the facilities are every bit as good as Division I facilities, but we simply carry a Division III tag.
That's fantastic. So we're talking about academics and it is student then athlete, especially at the Division III level. So how do your student athletes really balance the day-to-day between playing soccer and the academic side of things? Does your school have good support systems in place to help them with that, and how does that work at your school?
Yeah, just like any school we do, we've got all sorts of academic support, from study hall if we need it, to advising, to peer reviews, to paper help. It's all there. It's very interesting at this school, Matt, as opposed to other schools I've had. I actually don't use study hall right now. The student athletes we get are extremely academically driven. Our team GPA was a 3.69 cumulative team GPA. So we've got some outstanding students. If I need to institute study hall, we certainly can. But like I said, I mean, the average GPA of our incoming class, we've got 15 girls coming in, is probably around a 3.9.
Wow.
I alluded to one of our 2023s that was at our ID camp. She's a 4.96 GPA. She's already published 2 books, and she wants to come to Guilford because of our creative writing. So those are some of the student athletes we're getting. So if they want academic support, they have it, but a lot of them really don't need it. They're just so driven. In the fall, it is extremely time consuming because it's a Division I schedule. You're traveling a lot, you're training, you've got weightlifting, you've got to get in the athletic training room, you've got classes. So it is a lot. But if you've got good time management skills, that certainly helps. And then just like the Division III model in the spring, we only allowed 5 weeks to train with them. So it's an extremely shortened spring. And that's what Division III athletes want, because they're spending time in the spring doing internships or getting hours for dental school or medical school. At a Division I level, that's very hard to do. So that's why they come here to Guilford. And I think the Division III model is to have a good balance. Yes, you're a student athlete. In the fall, you get to play competitive level, and the spring you really get to focus on your academics.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And let's talk a little bit. Let's go back. You mentioned that kind of program in the fall. So if during the fall, what would a typical day look like for one of your players from kind of waking up to going to bed?
Yeah, so some days will be a lot more busy than others for them, depending on which days they have a heavy load, a light load, or no load. We've got some girls that have no class on certain days. Some girls are in class from 8 until 4. So, but typically they'll wake up on Mondays and Wednesdays. We lift weights from 7 to 8 a.m. So that kind of gets them going. They're up at 6:30, a quick bite to eat, lift weights. Then they might go eat breakfast, and then classes start. And then we train in the afternoons from 3 to 5. So they'll block off classes between those times. Some girls have evening classes, but for the most part, they're done after training. They go eat dinner, and then they're, getting on with their social life in their dorms, studying, whatever they need to do. So it is a jam-packed day. We train 6 days out of 7. So again, there is a big time commitment. I would say on an average, soccer activities probably take up anywhere between 14 and 18 hours of their week. So, if you average it out, probably got, anywhere between, hour and a half to 2 hours a day.
Okay. You guys are in it's the ODAC, right? That you're in? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So you're kind of, I guess, on the more southern side of that conference. So in terms of travel, what is your kind of average travel that you have for both in conference and out of conference games, and how does that kind of fit into the academic side of things?
Yeah, great question, Matt. So yeah, I mean, again, we can schedule anyone we want out of conference, and obviously in conference, the ODAC makes that schedule. There's only 2 teams that would really be overnight trips, if you will. You're right. We're the only school in the ODAC that is in North Carolina. Every other school is in Virginia. So we right up through the Virginia seaboard there. And again, only 2 of those trips were on the road. So I think that's great because you're missing less class time. The girls do get stressed when you miss, 2-3 days of school. So that really doesn't happen here. Like I said, only 2 overnight trips all year. The rest of our non-conference games are all within 2 to 3 hours radius.
No, that's great. Well, let's talk a little bit more about games and the team and all that kind of stuff. What's your typical roster size that you like to carry ideally? And if I'm a freshman, am I fighting for playing time right away, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first got here this past August, I had a roster of 15. That was all I had. It was extremely small, extremely difficult. Now we'll have a normal, healthy roster. I've got 50 girls coming in. So I would like to go. I probably wouldn't want to go lower than 26, depending on how many goalkeepers you carry. If you carry 2, 3, or 4. So if you're carrying a roster of 28 and you're carrying 4 goalkeepers, you've got 24 field players. And just with college athletics, you've always got 1 or 2 injuries. So it becomes a challenge to play 11v11 in training. This past year, I didn't have that luxury at all because we didn't have that many players. So I think anywhere between 26 and 30 is a healthy roster. In terms of playing time, I think, any coach would probably agree. I don't really care if it's a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. Really, whoever's playing the best and putting the effort in, those are the ones that will play. We don't necessarily go out there and go, well, let's, what lineup can we choose to lose this game today? We're going to choose the best 11 that we can, and then the game will dictate, how many players we play. Ideally, I'd like to play all my players in every game, but unfortunately, college soccer with the parity, I mean, you sometimes you're only going 2 deep, sometimes you may go 7 deep. But that also boils down to the coach's philosophy, and some coaches play every player every game. But like I said, I mean, a healthy roster, 28, I would say probably about 17, 18 deep. So you've got 10 players that consistently are not playing.
Okay. Well, besides yourself, how big is your soccer staff or support staff, even in the at the athletic department level, and what role did everybody play to help support the soccer team?
Yeah, again, at different levels, you've got different levels of staff. I do have one paid assistant, so it's me and that assistant, and then I've got 2 volunteers that want to be involved in the program. So if someone's good and wants to be involved in the program, I don't turn them away. So we have a volunteer goalkeeper coach, and then a second volunteer, and then my paid assistant. So right now there's 4 of us. At the Division 3 level, you don't have a certified. Well, some do, some don't, but you typically don't have a nutritionist and a strength coach. That falls under us. So one of us is certified in strength training, so we can train the girls ourselves. So yeah, I mean, there's 4 of us. They have different roles. Like I said, we have one that's strictly a goalkeeper coach, has no office time, just comes and trains goalkeepers. There's one that's their strength is Google Docs and Excel spreadsheets and that type of thing. There's one that will upload video, do travel and equipment. So we all have our own responsibilities.
Okay. Now you mentioned, you only have a 5-week off season in the spring, which is, you and I are talking here springtime. So what does that off season program look like for your team?
Well, again, I think I alluded to, at the Division 3 level, if you're certified in strength training, you're allowed to go out of that 5-week schedule. So really, it's not allowed to be mandatory. But really, I could start in January and go till May and just have voluntary strength training, so the girls can come and go as they want. So that's outside of your 5-week, and then within your 5-week, you've got 15 days. So we go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it's just, again, an emphasis on try to build a better technical base, try to build a better tactical base, and then as best we can, try to get them as strong and fit as we can. Obviously, that's very difficult to do in a 5-week window. So ultimately, it's what the players are going to do in the summer leading up to the fall that's really going to dictate their own individual success and the team success.
Yeah, for sure. Well, how would you describe your style of coaching, your team style of play, and how you talked about high press and maybe getting the wings up. So what is it that how you guys like to play, and how do you specifically like to coach?
Yeah, how I like to play and how we played this past year, different things. Again, what players do you have at your disposal, injuries, but yeah, how I like to play is a very high pressing game where everybody has to defend. No one's immune to defending. So defending is absolutely critical for me, every player. And then in possession, we like to play a very forward-thinking game. I'm not going to use the word direct, but it is how quickly can we get the ball to a high target or in behind as quickly as we can. So with that, we like to score a lot of goals. I inherited a team that had won 1 game the year before and scored 1 goal. This year we won 11 games and scored 38 goals. So with the same players. But having said that, we played some good teams, Lynchburg, Washington, and Lee, where we played completely different to how I want to play. And we played 2 banks of 4, set our 2 strikers in. We're very stingy with space, hard to break down, didn't come out much, played a very counter-attacking system. So while I do like to press and do those things, my players are certainly coached on how to play different systems, not only against different opponents or perhaps within a game. So we might say, right, we're going to press, and perhaps they're too good, they break the press. Okay, well, let's sit in. So I think it's very important that the girls understand 2 or 3 different tactical systems too.
So does Lynchburg still have that field right there, right next to the dorms where all the students come
That's it.
out? And I mean, it's right on top of it. That was a fun place to play.
That's
I
it.
will say that.
Yeah, we played them in the quarterfinals and we lost in double overtime.
Oof.
It was a heartbreaker, but they're a very good team, and but I think next year will be a very good team too.
Yeah, yeah. I hope you smack them around. I always say I got my career was made playing Lynchburg. I was a defender, but I had I think 4 collegiate goals and 3 of them were against Lynchburg over the course of my career. So I always loved playing Lynchburg. Oh,
Awesome.
good times. Anyway, well, Coach,
Difficult. Because the coach will bring all your experience as well. So I think it's important for those who get to know coach on the phone, but some visits, and whether it's talking to non-biased people who understand the game and know coaches, I think that's important.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. Wish you the best of luck in this season with all of your new commits and getting a strong roster, and hopefully you can build on that 11-win season, get some more, and get into that national tournament. So we wish you the best of luck.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it.